there's always restrictions, budget and time. But I think if you care more about conversions, you care more about getting business, then you will find the budget and the time to do this the right way.
Welcome to the Growing Rates. I'm Nikki Doherty, brand ambassador at Epicosity.
I'm Jay Bachmeyer, growth strategist at Epicosity.
Morning, Jay.
Morning.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Last time when you and I had some time together, we talked about pizza.
Yeah, we
And
did.
yeah, all the different toppings we could add or our FI friends could add, right?
Yeah.
Today, I was hoping that we could dive a little bit further and talk about that content. And in theory, right, all marketing content should be tailored specifically to the audiences, correct?
It should be. But it always or isn't always. So I think that's kind of what we'd like to talk about today is in last time's analogy of pizza, we talked about everybody kind of serving the same bland cheese pizza. And I think this time we really want to talk about, what is that customized content? What does that look like, obviously, for banks and credit unions? But to your point, how do we define customized content? In theory, all advertising should be customized at least at some level, right? If you're going to promote an auto loan, you're going to have your auto loan rates, you're going to have vehicles within that ad. So I think the thing that I'm thinking about when I talk about customized content, I'm really looking at how can we take maybe a larger message play and break it into segmented subsets, right? How can we talk specifically to maybe audiences within an audience? Because I think that was one of the things that we talked about on the last show was just everybody is so broad appealing with their message that it sort of doesn't really appeal to anybody. So customized content is the way to take this big picture and sort of distill the value down into a more subset or a more segmented group of this larger audience. And then, of course, I think the goal there is that you're really just being able to apply what you know about that segmented audience and get it down into the email communication, the websites that they're going to be visiting, those pages that they're going to be visiting, even printed materials, et cetera. So there's a lot of ways that we can customize content for specific audiences.
That sounds great, Jay. So what I'm doing in my head while you're telling me all this is I'm thinking of back in my old days when I used to do marketing for FIs. So can we break it down just a little bit further? Let's talk about the glorious auto loan campaigns, correct? So if back in the day, and since everything has changed, everything's more specific, people can really find the information and they expect the information that's relevant to them to be delivered. So instead of me just finding a picture of a beautiful new car, right, and putting it on billboards or a landing page, including it in an email blast to all my members or all the customers, can you break it on down, Jay? Like, what does customized content look like in that arena?
Yeah. So I would say, obviously, we've got to start with the segmented audiences, right? So I think even when you look at a large audience, let's just even say like millennials, big group of people, right? It covers a broad stroke of audiences. But within that, there are people who are outdoors, there are people who are indoors, there are people who like gaming, there are people who like socializing. There's different sort of personality types, different type of, habits, hobbies,
Yeah.
and other factors that come into play where I think, especially now in the digital world where everything is basically digital. I mean, a lot of the marketing efforts is on social media channels and
Right.
streamed, right? There's just a lot of opportunity there that if you're not so lazy with your content creation, you can actually really refine a lot of your messaging to hit those specific audiences.
So you're saying I would take that and look at my core, right? Or just do different ads according to try and get those behaviors, those psychological drivers for people. I'm a huge dog lover. put a dog in the ad next to my car out exploring kind of thing and talk
Yeah.
about the freedom I would have or some of those kind of different messages?
Yeah. I mean, there's really a lot of ways to segment your audiences, a lot of ways to look at the different data sets that are available to everybody and say, what can I personalize out of the information that I know about my members or my customers as a bank or credit union?
Hmm.
Or how can I just customize this message a little bit on this platform given the targeting capabilities that we have on Meta, right? That's going to be the two areas I think a lot of data and segmentation is going to come from, and a lot of that is going to play a large role in how you customize that message. I would say the deeper you can get, the better, right? The
Okay.
more you know about an audience, the more you can segment them, the better the messaging is going to be, the better you can tailor the visuals to that person, because ultimately you want that call to action. You want a conversion rate. You want them to apply for a loan. There's always restrictions, budget and time, but
Yeah.
I think if you care more about conversions, you care more about getting business, then you will find the budget and the time to do this the right way. So I think even if you can't get deep, your example, dogs, which I love, right?
Yeah.
Like if you know that there's a segment of your audience who loves dogs, whether it's from a custom data list that you got, maybe you did, a dog event, right?
Right.
Previously at your FI, and you just know that there's a group of people that likes dogs. Why wouldn't you have, let's go with the auto loan promotion. Why wouldn't you have, a picture of a young couple in a car with a dog, right? I mean, that
Right.
makes sense. That's only going to appeal to that specific audience. But I think that's where we want to go, is we don't want to do one message to all, 40,000 people that's going to see this ad. I would rather do 10 messages, to 4,000 people, to make sure that I'm really getting the most actionable, the highest conversion that I can from that audience, and get that pulled through. And there's a lot of different parts to segmenting. I mean, it's not just the data in the platforms, as you alluded to. It's not just the core data that you have access to, but the other part of it is, like, if you can't come up with meaningful ways to segment those audiences, the obvious one is look at just general life stages. Where do
Hmm.
you think this person is at within their life stage? Maybe we need to have a college kid um, advertising message on auto loans, right? They're going to be looking at something a little bit more budget friendly for their first car, right? You're not going to be putting the BMWs in front of
Right.
a college student, right? And I mean, you certainly can, but is that the best financial decision for them? That's a whole different ball of wax we won't open today. But right, so you want to have that message, have the visuals sort of appeal to that college age student looking for their first car or maybe their second car, right? Something a little bit more um, up there, like a Honda, right? Something reliable, but not too fancy, not too expensive. And then you get to the family person, right? So here's a family audience, right? So maybe they're looking at bigger vehicles, they're looking at SUVs,
Right.
mid-sized vehicles, and that's another way that you could tailor a vehicle to that. It's just trying to play, okay, well, they're sort of in a family life stage, their priorities are different. They want space, they want room, they want expansion, they want growth. And then to maybe an older audience, although you're having the same promotion to all of these audiences, right? To the older demographic, you're probably going to go with more of a BMW. Or if you know that you can target a neighborhood, that's maybe a high end neighborhood, and you're just sort of aware of that side of, or that section of the city has a little bit more money than the average person, right? Then you can start looking at having the promotions of the BMWs and some of those more premium brands. And that's a really easy way to segment your message among your audiences. Is it doesn't have to be, here's things that I actually know about that audience, which is always better, right? But
Right.
if you can't do that, at least try to look at the life stage that they're in, either based on their age, their income, where they're located demographically. Those are just some real low hanging ways to uh, find opportunities to segment your audience.
So I'm going back to my days too, and now I'm thinking, okay, I have an auto loan campaign coming up. And you can just have like a broad message,
Mhm.
probably not anymore these days, but when you're doing the digital ads, I'm thinking, wow, Like I'm thinking about the people that I talk to that are a one, two, even a three department marketing department, right? And now you're telling me to create 10 more ads each month, customize and
Yeah.
segment my email newsletters. So you know what that means, Jay, is that they have to dig in their core, right? They
Mhm.
have to pop in and look at maybe who has an auto loan, who doesn't, who's 3 year old, what's the average lifespan of an FI auto loan or an auto loan at your FI, and start the marketing that way. That's a lot more work, Jay. That's a lot more
Yeah.
work.
It is a lot of work, and I think that's where like you can sell the benefit of your service, right? Even as a marketer internally is marketing is less gut feelings now, and it's more of a science, right?
Right.
And I think the value of putting more effort into diversifying your ad sets is at the end of the day, you can walk away with evidence that says people reacted to this more than that. So budget and time is always a restriction. And the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way is to have one ad set that just blankets the area, right? But at the end of that campaign, the only thing you learn is, was it successful or not successful? Did we
Right.
get a lot of applications or did we not get a lot of applications, right? If you just throw in even another ad set, right? Even another promotion or same promotion, but you're just changing the message,
Mm-hmm.
subsetting that audience. Then at the end of that campaign, you could say which ad set did better and then why, right? So now instead of just saying like, did it work or did it not work? It's like, right, green light or red light. Now you can actually take a deeper dive into the messaging, into the audience reaction to that messaging. A lot of times they call this A/B testing, right?
Yes, yes.
Typically, you'd want to do that with creating several ad sets to the exact same audience group because that's going to give you the utmost certainty on which ad set actually performed better, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
sort of back into it why you think that ad set did particularly better or not. But at least if you're doing multiple ads and segmenting your audiences, then like I said, you can walk away knowing a lot more about what you could do or should do in the future, and a lot less on just like, did it work, did it not work? Because at the end of the day, right, that's what the CEOs care about. That's what your
It is.
CFOs care about is, did it bring in the revenue? But, that doesn't give you direction for next time, next promotion, next year, new audience you want to explore, which is another benefit of continuing to segment those audiences and trying to customize that message, that content is, if you want to break into a whole new audience for your campaign or your promotion, and you're just using the same blanket message, can you really distinguish whether you got the audiences you were looking to target, or did you just get more of the audience you were already appealing to?
Correct, correct. Nope, that makes complete sense. And I know those are some of the tactics that I used when I was working at FIs too. But one thing I want to ask you too is like, what if the core is just cumbersome? Like I've worked in a few,
Mhm.
like just extracting the data so that I can begin to understand my segments is almost impossible. Do you have any alternative things, Jay, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as an organization, that's just going to need to happen, right? So some of it is like, how far down the road can you kick that can?
Right.
Um, because I do think that it's very difficult to get that information. From what I understand, not a lot of people are able to sort of comprehend and read that information, translate it to the organization, or export it in a way that can connect to maybe your marketing tools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's obviously those obstacles, and I would just say, if you're not doing that today, like that needs to be priority number one.
Yeah.
Um, Competition wise, that's where the industry is going. You will be behind if you can't make good use of your core data, because that's the best data that you can have, right? So that's the firsthand data that you have access to. And it's going to give you a lot more insights, and you're going to be able to play within that space. So one, I would say just try to do it. harder to implement than say, right? From
Right.
being in the marketing chair, I could just say that. So, but if you don't have that level of access to those to that first party data, there again, I'd say it's just looking at the capabilities that you have with the platform. I think an easy low hanging fruit is a lot of people still do direct mail, right? The response rate is a little low. It's a little expensive with postage, but it's still a meaningful marketing channel. But even within a direct mail pace, you could mail it to an entire city with one message. There again, how effective is that going to be?
Right.
Instead, I would say let's carve out high income, high medium homes.
Yep.
They get a different message. Obviously, people who are living in low income areas of the city, right, or in trailers, their priorities for vehicles is going to be different, right? So that message should mirror their priorities. That's what segmentation is all about. Even if it's just guesswork based on where they're located and how much income they have, what their household is worth, that value, you can just do some broad stroke generalizations. But I think the purpose there is that you want to mirror that specific audience's mentality. What are they thinking? What do they look like? What would they be willing to buy, right? Even if, like I said, even if the promotion's all the same,
Right.
you still have that opportunity to do it that way. And I think, even with like emails, you could just do email blasting is easy, right? You just one email message, send that to everybody. But there again, I would still say that you want to look at if you can't use some relevant data to like subsort your audiences or segment those out a little bit further, then I think the real idea is maybe to take an approach that's more thematic, right? Instead of just doing an email blast that says, hey, we're offering this rate for autos, or we're going to delay your payments for this many days or whatever. Instead, make it more of a content message, right? Here's here's an auto loan and some of the special offers. But then, what should you be thinking about when it comes to insurance? What should you be thinking about when it comes to
Right.
maintenance and repairs? You kind of package it up so that it doesn't feel like I'm being sold to. It feels like you're just showing me value, things to think about. Also, by the way, you happen to have a good deal on an auto loan, right?
I agree. I love that you talked about customizing the package because a lot of the FIs are not just, they don't want just you to come in and get one product or service, right? They want a whole lifetime of value with you. So that to me screams volumes on how you want to communicate with your members or customers. You want to show them that you are there for all of their financial journeys and that you are an expert. So specializing and in creating content specific for your segmented audiences is just another way to do that, correct? To show
Yeah.
them that you're there at every stage.
Yes, I mean that's critical, right? That's what consumers
Yeah.
want is they sort of want a relationship, and I think it's very easy for banks to fall in this transaction. And part of that is because they have a blanket message for everybody.
Right.
It's hard to feel like you're in a relationship when you're kind of treated autonomously, right? Like, as if you are any other person. So I think that is having that package message is critical. Um, Even then, when you get responses from these audiences in different areas, whether it's through a direct mail piece that you sort of spliced up locally, regionally, from income levels, right? Or looking at an email response, you can take that information and start creating that segmentation. So that's the real
Yeah.
opportunity is now you can take a look at where you may not have had a lot of data on these audiences, but now you can start to create these audience lookalikes, these personas based on the response that you do get. So even if you can't pull from your core data, at the very least, you could start segmenting those audiences so that next time when you start to market to them, you could be like, okay, what worked with this auto loan? They obviously liked maybe more that premium brand. Maybe on this home loan, we should be showing them this type of house, these specific types of houses
Yeah.
to really there again tailor that, customize that message, customize the visuals to try to make it more appealing to that specific consumer.
I love it. Jay, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge on on content, segmentation, targeting. I hope that our friends learned a little and not scared or overwhelmed. But if they are, they can give us a call. We're here to help, correct?
Yeah, everybody's got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah.
even we have a tendency to just want to do broad stroke blankets, but as long as you're working towards customization, audience segmentation, I mean, you're going to be punching above the rest when it comes to your weight class.
And they're going to learn, and it's going to get easier every single time you do it, and
Absolutely.
obvious, correct? Obvious when you're looking at it too. So,
Absolutely. All
any
right.
last
Well,
words of wisdom today, Jay?
no, nope, that was it. I think that's all I can pull out for right now.
Well, I got to ask, what's in the coffee cup? Coffee?
Wow. Okay. So you might judge me a little bit, but it
Okay.
is now end of February, and this is Holiday Blend Christmas
Ooh,
Cup.
Christmas coffee.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I like black, the holiday blend at least, because it doesn't mix well with anything else.
Oh,
So it's just leftover from the holidays. Got to chug through it.
you just got to go. You're in a blizzard right now, so it's
Ooh, this is true.
what you had left in the cupboard
Right? Yeah, the biggest blizzard we had since December. So maybe it's
since
just like
December.
right. Maybe it is. Maybe it's all fate. Who knows?
Well, perfect. Well, enjoy your holiday blend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Nikki.
Okay, bye.